Okay, so we need to talk about friendship trios.
Style.
I'm Danielle Bayard Jackson, a female friendship coach and educator. Yes, it is a thing. And this week I want to talk to you about friendship trios. Is it even possible to have a successful, loving, equally balanced, well-adjusted, healthy group of three? Yes. I know this because there's evidence everywhere. I've spoken to women in these friend groups. I have seen women who share this kind of friend dynamic, and they are walking, living testimonies to how it is possible to enjoy a strong platonic triad. Today, I want to talk to you about the 3 things that have to be in place if you want a healthy friend group. Before we jump into the 3 things that are important, I want to give you a little context as to why we tend to form and congregate the way that we do. There's a ton of research that suggests that male and female friendships are a little bit different. The way that we congregate looks different as well. Women tend to be dyadic, meaning most of their friendships are one-to-one. I want to share with you research by Sebastian Ocklenberg. This was featured in a piece on Psychology Today a few years ago, and he outlined the most common friend dynamics. More than 50% of people, he found, congregate as a pair. The number of people goes up in the group, the frequency or the number of people who do it goes down. 18% of people reported spending time in a trio. 9% of people reported spending time in a group of 4, a quartet, a group of 4. 4% as a group of 5, so on and so forth. So if so many of us tend to form a default relationship or friendship rather in a pair, then does it mean that it takes something special, something different, a new intention to have a healthy, balanced group of 3? And I think the answer is yes. But we tend to default to the pair because, one, logistically it's easier. When it comes to coordinating time to hang out together, which is a key ingredient of becoming friends, is the amount of time invested together. It's easier to say, hey, can you meet up right now? And for that person to be like, yeah, let's go. As opposed to coordinating multiple calls with multiple people. So 1, it's just logistically easier to arrange. 2, it's easier to create a sense of reciprocity. Even if it's something as fundamental as conversation. I know that I talk and then you talk. And then I talk. So it's easier to kind of strike that balance and to identify times when things are out of whack, right? Because it's this easy scale to monitor, and we can see when these like differences in reciprocity tend to emerge. And then finally, there's less of a chance of us feeling any kind of social exclusion because it's just me and you. But yet once you throw in that other person, yeah, we've got to work and give a little more effort to make sure there's a sense of balance that's now kind of spread out and distributed evenly among the trio. When it comes to having a friendship group of 3, there are so many advantages. You feel like you're getting twice the love. You've got 2 people to love on you, right? And it feels like love multiplied. So that's always a good thing. Again, logistically, it's sometimes easier to be like, can you hang out? No, you're not free. Okay, well then this person's free. So someone's always available to hang out, which feels kind of nice. And then there's always like a peacemaker if you're having a falling out with one of the people in the trio. So I'm person A, person B, we have kind of like an issue. Maybe person C tries their best to remain neutral and help facilitate reconciliation between us. In fact, in my upcoming book, tentatively titled Fighting for Our Friendships, which should be in bookstores near you in early 2024, in chapter 3, I spent some time looking at these dynamics and why, if we are forming our relationships in these dyads, we're almost more susceptible to having tension when we don't have a third person to help mediate reconciliation. You know what I'm saying? More on that in 2024. So even though these friendship trios offer a lot of strength and support and security, they're not without their disadvantages. Here's how you can keep your friendship trio strong, even in the midst of misunderstandings and tendencies that sometimes pose a threat to your unity. The first thing is this: you have to have friends outside of the friendship trio. I have noticed greater emotional distress for women who have a friendship trio, and let's say 2 friends get together without her, and then she's wondering what to do, right? She is like on the brink of a mental collapse because there's no one to turn to for her thing, and she doesn't know how to interpret these 2 hanging out without her. But it helps when you have a variety of friends, that you have a diverse and varied portfolio of friendships, and not necessarily to use people or to use them as placeholders or anything like that. We're not minimizing the value that they have or the purpose that they serve in our lives. And even if you find that you're closer to your friendship trio, that's great. But who else do you have in your life to offer emotional support, to do things with socially, to talk to? It's important to kind of have a more expansive network, and it's easier to sustain a friendship trio without the pressures sometimes that are on them to always be equally available and balanced for each other at all the times, if you have it also buffered by the presence of these other existing friendships. You also need to have a secure attachment style. I'm no psychologist or mental health expert, but I interview many of them for my podcast, the Friend Forward podcast, and I share those insights here. I've also interviewed several for my upcoming book, Fighting for Our Friendships. So I want to pass on to you what they've shared with me. Having a secure attachment style means that you are secure in your self-worth and you are confident with who you are as a person. You know what you offer in a friendship. And you also believe that others can be trusted to give you that love. You are less likely to fret about the fact that two friends hung out without you, that they're texting perhaps without you, that maybe you weren't included in a particular text exchange, because your assumption in that moment is not, they're conspiring against me. They're trying to leave me out. I'm losing my place. I'm losing my footing. I'm losing my ground in this dynamic if the two of them get together without me. Those kinds of reactions is going to leave you more fragile and chaotic and insecure than if your default assumption is, oh, they must have been in the same neighborhood and grabbed coffee together. This does not make you naive. It just means your default assumption is not one of paranoia or feeling threatened that your attachment to this group is going to be negatively impacted. To put it plainly, I often wonder if trios are possible for people who are really far removed from a reasonable, secure attachment style, because there are going to be times when there's a conversation that happens without you or right in front of you, but they're talking about something that you can't really totally integrate yourself in. And so you just kind of listen and you even delight in them having a moment together that you don't necessarily have to always be a participant in. Maybe they're bonding over something like a recent shared experience, a breakup, becoming new moms. Maybe they're having certain life experiences and milestones that allow them to be closer in this moment or this season of their life. And the question becomes, are you able to allow that to happen without spiraling, without questioning your entire role in this friendship dynamic? Are you okay with the fact that maybe they'll always be a little bit closer because they share a 15-year history and you're more of the newbie? Are you okay with that? My question to you there is, if they still show up for you, if they're still loving on you, supporting you, listening when you need someone to vent to, affirming you, if all of that is still happening, then does it matter that they might be a few degrees closer together than they are with you, if you're still finding value in the relationship? I'm gonna let you think on that for a second. If you don't assume the worst and you feel confident with yourself, it's easier to be in a friendship trio, at least a healthy one, without losing your mind. And finally, everybody has to prioritize the needs of the trio. A harsh reality is that it is not possible for everyone to be perfectly, equally balanced at all times. It's just not possible. But with that reality, are you also dedicated and committed to making sure everyone feels equally seen? Even though perfection in balance is not possible, are we willing to do what we can to make sure that we do our best to achieve it? So I'm doing things intentionally to make sure I'm checking on both. I'm doing things to facilitate moments and experiences and connection between all of us, both as a group and individually. So if we're spending some one-on-one time, I might think, you know what, let's all go to the beach next Saturday. We haven't hung out as the three of us in a while. So I'm putting the friend group at the forefront and making sure we're all good. Now, this doesn't just include hangouts, because I know some of us get really obsessed with, oh, they're spending more one-on-one time than the group. Okay, so not just hangouts, but am I affirming them equally? Am I supporting their union when they're on the outs? And I'm gonna fuss a little bit, because I've seen some of us who are maybe in a trio, but when two have a falling out, are you working to make sure they come back together? Or when you talk to each one-on-one, you're saying things that are not conducive to reconciliation. Am I saying things like, yeah, she is crazy. Yeah, she insensitive. Yeah, she is. As a peacemaker, as a person in the middle, am I trying to recover the full group dynamic? Or am I secretly thrilled by the splintering, not wanting to bring them together? I think those are personal questions that as individuals, we all have to kind of sit with and be honest with ourselves with. Because if that's the case, I don't think you need to be in a friendship trio. When you want to feel like each person's number one, but not allowing them to feel like number ones with each other. And there's any sense of feeling a need to compete to make sure you're always the favorite. If there's any of that, I don't think that friendship trios would even be a healthy thing for you to enter into. So ultimately, the message here is that yes, healthy friendship trios are possible. They have a lot of advantages. Now, I know that you have thoughts, and I know you're going to leave them right here in the comments, because I can't wait to read them and engage with you. But if there's any part of you that's like, Danielle, I have a friend trio situation that's complicated, I'd love to hear more. I'd love to see you in a one-on-one session that you can book on betterfemalefriendships.com. Or even better, I'd love to see you as a part of our group coaching program, Friendship Elevated, which former academic chair, former curriculum specialist, teaching and education is really my thing. And so I took the time to kind of make these videos so that they really illuminate the 5 different phases of adult friendship. And until then, you know that I'll be right here rooting for you always on your ongoing journey toward better female friendships. Until next time.
Style.